In the 1990s, horror movies were shown on television in the middle of the day. So I can remember being a little kid and flipping through the channels and coming across some of the scariest horror films. The first movie that I remember vividly that fueled a lot of my nightmares was It. A lot of kids are afraid of clowns, and I was no exception. And when this movie showed a killer clown that lived in the sewer that liked to eat children, yeah, that was absolutely horrifying. I was afraid to use the shower, the sink, or go near anything that had pipes, because I would look down the drain and think to myself that at any moment a killer clown could come out of there. I also had a Bozo the Clown doll in my room that had to be thrown in the trash. And that scene where Georgie is in the photo album and winks at the camera, that freaked me out too. Another movie that caused probably the vast majority of my nightmares was Child's Play 2. This movie was shown on TV a lot in the early 90s, and this was the very first Chucky movie I ever saw. The part that stuck out the most to me was the scene in the toy factory at the end where they're climbing through the cages and the conveyor belts. I can remember going to one of those play places like the Discovery Zone and seeing those slides with the tubes and thinking, oh my gosh, that looks exactly like that scene from Child's Play 2 where they're climbing up the doll chute thingy. So needless to say, I was afraid to go to those play places after that. The next movie I want to talk about is Children of the Corn 3: Urban Harvest. A lot of the Children of the Corn movies were shown on TV in the 90s, but this is the one I remember the most for some reason. This movie featured some unusually graphic and gory kills, and just the idea of kids killing their parents was really creepy to me. Of course, when I watch it now, a lot of the scenes look silly and they're not as scary to me as they were back then. But when you're a little kid, you don't know what's real and what isn't, and this was definitely not a movie that little kids should see. The next movie that gave me lots of nightmares was Pet Sematary. There were a lot of memorable and scary scenes in this movie, but one in particular involves Zelda. This was the sister of Rachel Creed, and there's a scene where she's in bed and she gets up and stares at the camera. That scared the crap out of me. I mean, just look at the makeup here. I still find this to be one of the scariest scenes in any movie. And you don't usually see characters in a movie stare right at the camera like that. It definitely gives me the heebie-jeebies. Up next, I have to talk about Night of the Living Dead. This was another popular movie to show on TV in the 90s. For the most part, it wasn't too scary to me until it got to this scene where this zombie child kills her mother. This was a surprisingly brutal and graphic scene, and it definitely traumatized me when I was little. And I think also because it comes completely out of left field, and that's what makes it so scary. It's been a long time since I've seen this one. It might be worth a rewatch. The next movie I have to talk about is The Fly. This was on TV all the time when I was little, and I actually liked it a lot. But there was one scene that always scared me, and that was the arm wrestling scene. I'm not sure why from all the gross and graphic scenes in this movie, this one stuck out to me the most. But I just remember absolutely refusing to let anyone arm wrestle me after that. No, thank you. And finally, the last movie I have to mention is Silent Night, Deadly Night. This was one of the most traumatic experiences I remember from watching TV as a kid. I didn't know it was a horror movie. So when I saw Santa Claus approach this family, I thought, oh nice, a Christmas movie. And then Santa Claus pulls out a knife and slits the mother's throat. Yeah, that's definitely not how you want to remember Santa Claus come Christmas time. After that, I was terrified of the idea of Santa Claus coming down the chimney. And I still am, to be quite honest. And to this day, I still can't believe that they showed this movie on TV like it was no big deal. The 90s were a different time, to say the least. So even though these movies did give me a lot of sleepless nights as a kid, they did spark my interest in horror movies as I got older. So what are some horror movies that you might have seen when you were little that scared the crap out of you. Let me know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe for more horror related content.